Welcome to Gardening with Daddy Pete. Let's join our host, Melvin York.
Well, greetings, everyone. This is Melvin York, and you're listening to Gardening with Daddy Pete. Well, here we have it. This is the 28th day of December. The new year is right around the corner, so I hope each and every one of you have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we're going to talk about some of the things that needs to be done to get the new year started off right. Last time we talked about some tips on getting ready for the gardening, for spring gardening, and also for your cold weather crops. We'll also today talk about some pruning, and I know a lot of people likes to wait until the leaves are off, the sap goes all the way down, but we want to caution you on some of the things that needs to be pruned, some of the things that does not to be pruned, and how to prune them. So we're going to talk just a little bit about what type of pruning you can do at this time of year in cold weather, and that'll be on a lot of your deciduous trees, could be on most of your deciduous shrubs, and some of your evergreens. Now, if you get a chance, go to daddypetes.com. That's our website. You can look on there. You can archive all of our podcasts. If you miss one, you can go back through and listen to those. You can also ask a question, leave us a comment. We're glad for you to do that. Also, while you're there, kind of look around at all of our different products we have to help you in your gardening needs, home, landscaping, your shrubs, your herbs, your vegetables, whatever you can think of, mulching. We have a product that can help you do that. Again, that's daddypetes.com. All right, let's start off a little bit about pruning. I know a lot of people likes to prune when the leaves are off, so I'm going to give you some hints on what to prune and how to prune them. Now, if you look at your azaleas, something like camellias, rhododendrons, those plants, those shrubs have already set buds for spring. So any pruning you do to those now, will you hurt the bush? No. Will you destroy your blooms for the spring? Yes. So if you're wanting your azalea to bust out and bloom in the spring and you prune it now, you won't have the blooms because they're already set. You need to start looking for buds before you start pruning. You'll find that also on camellias. Some of the camellias will be blooming here. I know I have a variety that just finished up about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And luckily, it's more of the warm-hearted variety, and it didn't get that cold, so I got to enjoy it. My other varieties of the camellia are just now getting ready to bloom. Usually, you'll see those bloom around mid-January here in the Piedmont into February. I did also notice today that my forsythia, or a lot of people like to call them yellow bells, they have already popped a couple blooms because we've had some warm days. It is a bad time to prune that forsythia. You will lose the blooms off of that if you do that now. So these are just a few types of the things, and you start scouting and you're looking for buds. If the buds are already set, I would not prune unless you're willing to do without your spring blooms and your spring beauty, so to speak, as we go through. Now, some of the other trees that's going to be setting buds already is going to be, or soon to come, is going to be your maple trees. A lot of your variety of your pear trees will be there. Some of your plums. All of these type trees do bud early. If you look, a lot of the different type of shrubs, not only the ones I mentioned before, have already set bud, like the forsythia or the camellia or the azalea. So when you're pruning, make sure that your trees, your shrubs, have not set bloom yet. A lot of people ask this question: how about my hydrangeas? Do I cut those back? I would not cut those back now. If you'll look, you'll see that they've already got a bud on those, and that's going to be for your spring bloom and for your foliage, so I would not cut them back. Here, it has not really got what we call cold weather yet. So if you still have, you're in an area just like us, you still have some plants that you may be a little worried about taking on some harsh cold, because it's possible that we could get it. I would freshen up with a little more mulch, just to make sure that you keep those roots and that plant protected against the real harsh cold winter and the wind that we do have. When pruning, now here is something that a lot of people don't listen to, and you have a lot of problems later. Never prune more than a third of your bush or your tree. Now, you'll go by and you see people cut trees, and you'll see them cut things back to nothing. You'll also see them cut a lot of crepe myrtles back down the stems, and they do survive. But if you notice that they don't really put out that shape, that beauty that was intended for them. So when you're pruning, Never take more than a third at a time. If that doesn't get enough for this season, then you can again use that same practice for next winter, next late fall. You can prune a third then, but give it a chance to get its growth back, be healthy, and go again. Make sure that in your tools, when you do cut limbs, make sure they're clean cut all the way across. Don't leave any haggle. Let them break off, skin the bark. That is a great place for disease to start. So make sure that when you're doing your pruning, you do have sharp pruners, sharp saws, and pick up your limbs, all of your brush, leaves around that so they don't gather a place for disease. Now, you asked me, when do I trim some of my other trees? Some of your evergreen trees, and you can take like a Leland cypress, a green giant arborvitae. We want to trim those. Maybe we want to trim a Nellie or Stephen holly. Again, hollies right now has already set their buds and their blooms for the spring. These trees can be pruned in late spring, early summer, and they'll be fine. They're an evergreen tree, just like a pine. You can do that then. And if you will notice, usually in late summer, early fall, you'll see the center parts of them looks like they're dying. That's when they lose their leaves or their needles, instead of like the deciduous trees where it loses theirs in the fall on into winter. So that might be something that will be very helpful for you to, as you're going into the new year, before we get into the spring, and you've got that last minute pruning you want to do, this will be the time to do that. Check your fruit trees. If they've already started setting bud, don't prune them. Or if you do, you're going to lose that amount of fruit. But you want to keep everything that's in shape and looking good. So with a third or less of the pruning, usually the plant will still keep its natural shape and it will perform well for you in the spring and summer months. And then again, if you want to take it down a little more, use that same third practice, like I said before, in the fall or next year. Now, let's talk just a little bit about the gardening for 2024. We've got just a couple days left to get your seed for last year's prices or a good price on those. And if you missed that, make sure you go early and get your seeds. We never know. We've experienced some seed shortages over the last 3 to 4 years of different varieties. So make sure you get those now. If you order them for some of the seed catalogs and some of the organic seed companies, go ahead and get that order in now. And then when you get that order in and you get your seeds in, make sure to go to that journal that we keep talking about and put your list in, put the names and variety, how much you bought, when you bought them, where you bought them from. Keep those records. That journal that we keep talking about will be very important. Well, yes, I meant to do that. Okay, let's make that a 2024 New Year's resolution that we start our gardening journal this year. And I promise you, when you look back on it this time next year, you're going to be so glad you did. And again, I will just mention some of the things that you can put in that journal would be the varieties, how well it did, when you bought, when you actually planted, what plant you bought if you're doing transplant, where you bought them from, even jot down the price. See what it brought back to you, how well did it do for you. Make sure you do keep a running daily temperature, rainfall. That really helps a lot too. That lets you know when you're live in an area that seems to be more drought prone, look at that on the tag of the plant. Are they drought hardy? Make sure if you live in one where you get more rain, do they handle a wet location? These things are all on the tags. Our zones have moved now, and our USDA growing zones have moved up. You need to go online, look under the USDA growing zones, find what zone you are in your area now, match that with the plants that you buy. It takes just a few minutes to go on there, look at that growing zone chart, make yourself familiar with it, and then when you go to buy shrubs, trees, plants, herbs, whatever you're buying, make sure you look at the back of the pack or look at the tag that comes with the plant and see what zone they're good for. Let me give you just one hint. When you're buying shrubs or trees, try to stay with native type plants. They always do better here. So just a couple things that will maybe help you out as we start the new year, and we'll have some more stuff. We're actually going to be talking in the next few weeks about some of the citrus trees that can be grown here in the Piedmont and in parts of North Carolina and South Carolina. Not all things can, but yes, you can enjoy some. And some of them is actually hardy all the way down to 10 degrees above zero, which is something that I'm just now finding out about. And I'm very excited to learn more and share this with you in the next coming weeks. Also, if you're a gardening fan, or Fanatic, and you're going to be in the Greensboro area, you can look it up. It's called the Green and Growing Show. I think we'll be there the 18th and 19th, or the 19th and 20th. We'll be there all 3 days, but I think that you can look that up on their website and come on in and you can see all the new different gardening plants, techniques, gardening tools are all going to be on display there. You'll be able to purchase some things. So believe me, it's worth your while. It's in the Greensboro Coliseum. We take up 2 sides of it. It's something to see. It's called the Green and Growing. It's the North Carolina Nursery Landscape Association puts it on, all the vendors. We will be there in booth 907, Daddy Pete's booth, which is 907. I'll be there this year, so if you'd like to come by, say hello to me. Love to see you and love to hear from you. Well, and I'll mention that again in our next several podcasts. And who knows, we may even do one from the Green and Growing Show. So I do appreciate you listening. Go to our website if you have a chance, daddypete's.com. Check out our archives. Leave us a comment or ask a question. We'd love to hear from you. We will answer you back. We'll get back to you on that. Gardening season now is begun. Right after Christmas starts gardening season. So we're here and we're ready to go. But do that. Look at our products. Look at the ones. If you want to know where you can purchase our products, check out our store locator on the website, and it will put you in an area that has stores around you that you can purchase our products. If you can't find it, give us a call, Albus, and we will help you with it. Be glad to. Or, again, leave us a comment. We'll get back to you on that. Just as long as you leave us a phone number or an email, we'll be glad to respond. Well, I have enjoyed each and every one of you this year and the questions that you sent in and asked and calls. Remember, no question is too small, and we want to hear them all. And I want to take time now from Daddy Pete and just myself and wish each and every one of you a happy, a safe, and a prosperous new year. And we will probably hear you all again here right after Christmas. So this is the last podcast for the year for Daddy Pete's Gardening, but we will be back next week when it will be 2024, and we'll have a new topic for you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Happy gardening.
Thank you for joining today's Gardening with Daddy Pete. You can check out our website at daddypetes.com for additional gardening tips and our podcast at gardeningwithdaddypete.podbean.com. You can also join us on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify.